Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. I don't know. Feels like the world is just full of chaos demons and crazy people. I know it feels that way. You got these stupid politicians doing stupid things. Who knows if the government's going to shut down or not? Trump is very mercurial. You know, he's one way one day and another way the next day. Like, he is true Gemini energy and a chaos demon. And almost everybody uh, around him is also that way. You know, Peter Thiel seems nuts. J.D. Vance seems nuts. I don't know how normal people can look at these people and see stability or strong thinking. I mean, I feel like people are just brainwashed. And that's what happens. That's what happens. You split the country into two parties politically, and just like everything has gotten extreme, so has politics. And then you've got this huge faction of people in the middle who are just like, what the fuck is going on? You all sound insane. It's like the conservatives, it used to be a thing as a conservative Democrat. And most people over 40, newsflash, are very conservative. They're socially conservative, black, white, old, young. But the money has been figuring out how to make people believe in generalities and like, oh, if we can alienate white people from black people who have a ton of things in common. I mean, I'm talking about people who work side by side for years. They're now hating each other's guts over politics. Because apparently now, if you say you believe one thing, then it means you hate all these other things. And then, like, people are like, yep, okay, sign me up. And it's just been divisive and terrible. And there is a real possibility that none of these people know what they're talking about. Seriously, go to your job. If you're still working, or if your kids are working, or you know somebody who's working, talk to them and ask them, hey, have you noticed that it seems like people in your office, the leadership style is different? And a lot of them are going to say to you, yeah, because there is no leadership style. When all of these boomers left, a lot of them who are regular workers, they seem to leave. The politicians, they don't leave their jobs. But a lot of people have left. And like, I look at the office I just left, and when I started, there was definitely an old boomer in charge. And it felt like it. And it was structured and it was rigid, but it made sense. You could choose to not like it and go work somewhere else, or you could just put your head down and do the work. And a lot of people who were very talented, very smart, just put their heads down and did the work. So then, and it's grim work. I worked for a prosecutor. It was tough. It was challenging. And while it was a political role, my boss, he wasn't particularly political, only when he had to be. And then he just would work. Like, he would come to work every day and he was like, I got to put, my political hat on and shake hands and say certain strategic things. But then I'm not a politician, I'm a prosecutor. Then we get someone who's all politician. He rode a wave, got lucky, and just pretended like he cared about being a prosecutor for 6 years. He did not care at all. And he will tell you he does, but I was there and he didn't. And he didn't know how to lead a staff. And then the people who came in behind him don't know how to lead a staff either. And it's like, okay, I'm tired of my life being tied to someone's learning curve on a job. And it just worked out that I could go back to working for myself, which is what I always wanted to do, you know. And I did an incredible amount of good work there, which was weird that I didn't get more grace or goodwill. But again, people don't know how to manage a staff. They just don't. And it's these timeout parents. They manage the staff the way if they bother to parent their kids. Some of them don't. But the particular people I'm thinking of, they're just like, oh, sit in this corner. It's the difference between getting a whooping and getting a timeout. And I don't know, if you can't discipline your staff, you're not a leader. If you can't stand on business with everybody, you're not a leader. You can't make one set of rules for the people you like and don't want to quit versus the people you like, but you're okay if they leave because they're not, an attorney, or they're not someone you deem valuable. You can't just make life great for young white male attorneys and then be like, yeah, good luck to everybody else. It's not fair. And people will call you on it. You know what I mean? Like that's what I left. And I was like, this is a fucking cage match. And I'm past the point in my life where I want to fight for something I'm not in love with. You dig? And I know story after story, I hear people day after day complaining about their bosses or complaining about their managers. And it sounds like these people have absolutely no experience being a manager, yet somehow they lucked into these jobs. And it's insane, and I think it's at crisis level. I have more than 5 people asking me to consult from Canada on their businesses, and most of it is leadership. At least 3 of the requests were like, I need help with leadership consulting and management consulting. And, it's like, okay, I can help you with that because I know what makes a good leader. I am a good leader. I've worked for good leaders. Just because someone has inherited the title of boss doesn't mean that they're a leader. That is a very important distinction. And, right now you look at Trump, he seems like an insane person. I mean, he just does. And get ready, TikTok is going to suck because he basically sold it to some big, um, like CIA type of thing. So Larry Ellison, I think, I was going to say Jewish, and that's why I stopped, because I don't have a problem with Jewish people, but I do have a problem with this group of people who are parading under being Jewish, but they're doing all of this censorship and harassment and trolling of people if you don't agree with them. So right now, TikTok is probably the only place where you're going to see a lot of truthfulness about what's going on in Palestine, how people view it as a genocide. And uh, I have a hard time believing that Larry Ellison and this group of billionaires who've been put together to buy TikTok are going to allow that to stand, because they're very aligned with Israel and they believe Israel is right. And so now, where do the people who don't believe that get to voice? There are people who have videos of children getting blown up in Palestine up on TikTok, and it's already heavily censored. So I can't imagine what it's gonna. They're just gonna not let you post things with certain words or pictures. It's going to be a real assault again on free speech, and we're already heavily censored, and I don't think people realize it. If you're not trying to post things on social media, you don't realize how censored we are. That's why the news is so anemic. And when you watch it, you're like, what did I just watch? And how there are whole chunks of things going on in the world that you have absolutely no idea about because they censor everything. So we're entering a very interesting time because you cannot hide certain things. Like, you know, all of this bad leadership, it's starting to show. Uh, all of this lying to our faces, it's starting to show. All of this stuff where you just pretend like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lower grocery prices, and then grocery prices have increased again. You know, eventually people are gonna be like, stop lying to our faces, because that's really what happens. You do it on the micro level, like I did with my job, or you do it on the macro, like you look at these politicians and you go, like, you guys are just liars. You're lying to us. And so that's why the MAGA people finally are starting to wake up a little bit, because they lied to their faces about Jeffrey Epstein. And it's obvious that they can't tell you why they're not going to release the files, because then we'll know everybody's a pervert. there's this group of people that have been participating in very bad behaviors for a long time, and they enjoy a decent public reputation, and they don't want to jeopardize their legacy. But I have a feeling that we are entering a season or an era where the truth must be revealed. It's just that time. And I don't know what they've called this, but this era has been going on. Probably the beginning of it was like Bill Cosby, where you're like, what the fuck, Bill Cosby? When did you even have time to shoot the show? You was out here raping everybody, allegedly. You know, I think that was the beginning of it because it was just like preposterous. Like, what? And then by the time I watched my third Bill Cosby documentary, I was like, this was a raping piece of furniture. He how could he even have time to do anything but rape people? It was nuts. So I think that was the beginning of it, like this the truth is coming out, I don't care what you say kind of era. And now we're in the middle, like we're really in it now. And you looking up, and like I said, you have to have an eye of discernment. This is spiritual warfare. I even feel like we're fighting demons on different dimensions because it's stuff that's so evil you can't even wrap your brain around it. And a lot of people just aren't going to believe it. But they need to believe it. You need to be prepared that some of these people that you worship, that you love, that you hold in space for are demons and demonic and have been trying to get you to be demonic because that's what they're into. Because they sacrificed their humanity to be famous. And at first, I would have been like, what are you talking? Like, this sounds crazy. But when you really start to connect dots, that has to be what it is. It doesn't make any other sense. It's like they've been distracting us, and but we had good distractions. Our television shows were aspirational. They were that's Cosby Show was huge. It was aspirational. I know generations of people who wanted to be Cliff and Claire, you know, and while my family wasn't wealthy, we were closer to Cliff and Claire than than like Good Times. You know, it was like a middle class family. Well, they were upper class, but middle class family on TV, black with values, and that's more of what I grew up with. I didn't understand some of the other stuff. It took me years to realize that Good Times, those walls were made of cinder block. And then I was like thinking, Norman Lear, is this good? Like, are you fucking with us? What's good about this? Good time. They weren't having any good times. People was eating dog food. James wore pants with splits in the pocket and couldn't make any money and was washing dishes and working at the car wash, and they never had enough money. And then the show really got terrible when he left. And it's like, are you being ironic? It's like nothing about this looks like a good time. This all looks like the opposite of a good time. You know, we are living in a really interesting time. And all I can ask is that you keep your wits about you, you stay spiritually grounded, and if you can, go for a walk. If you cannot, dream and close your eyes about being on the beach and going for a walk in the forest. It works. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So close your eyes, use your imagination, and your body will relax and you will feel better because it doesn't know if you're on the beach or in the forest or if you're in your bed. It doesn't. The brain responds to images and what you believe to be happening. And right now, this is to me what a spiritual assault looks like. And I don't know everything, but I know God wins. So stay strong, stay encouraged, and just know that, we're about to see some shit. I definitely feel that. It's about to be even crazier. I don't believe half the shit they're telling us right now. I don't believe that Charlie Kirk died the way by the hand of who they say did it. And now, again, we're looking at people who aren't very skilled, who've got jobs, who've gotten jobs that they weren't really qualified for. That's why it looks so crazy now. The CIA has always been sinister. The FBI has always been a little bit like, oh, yeah? Is that how y'all get down? But these people now, they're so bad at it, it's like, I can't take you seriously at all. I don't think any of these people are these little teenage boys they keep arresting. I do not believe they're the shooters or killers of anybody. I just don't, and I won't. So stay tuned, honey. Stay tuned. But more than that, stay prepared. And by prepared, I mean loving God, knowing God has a plan. And if we vibrate at the right frequency, which is love, we're going to watch a lot of demons get sucked up. It's going to be like the end. I keep thinking it's going to be like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where you have to close your eyes and hold on to that pole as the demons get sucked up. And maybe some version of that. But I am a screenwriter, so I could be wrong, but I also could be dead ass right. Happy Monday.